So this dropped. This is interesting. Warner Brothers Pictures' future may actually hang completely in the balance on Superman's success. Peter Safran may leave DC Studios to take over Warner Brothers Pictures as well. Now, this comes to us from Puck or Matt Bellany, who previously got it completely right, actually, that Kathleen Kennedy was set to leave because she quite literally came out and confirmed that she was set to leave. So, yeah, Matt Bellany does actually have a pretty good track record. I'm sure Culture, when he gets his time, will confirm all of this.
Of course, yeah. No, indeed, yeah. Bellany is one of the most. I actually read Puck almost every day. I will tell you, this is a guy that from the inside knows everything because he has been
Yeah.
working in Hollywood and writing about Hollywood and working with people in Hollywood for decades. So there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically, says this: Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi's stint as Warner Brothers Pictures co-chiefs has been a disaster. It has. Outside of the odd hit like Barbie, the studio continues to release movies that regularly underperform. Mickey 17 as the latest example, and then of course Joker Folie à Deux, pretty big, egregious example of that.
Giant.
So according to a new report from Puck, Zaslav, an unpopular figure in Hollywood after he scrapped movies like Batgirl, Coyote vs. Acme, and the fact that he's MAGA, is considering replacing Luca and Abdi, which is the right thing to do. Just do it now. Why not? One top contender is DC Studios co-CEO Peter Safran, meaning James Gunn will be left as the sole head of that studio. Beyond that, it also appears that the pressure is on Superman to be a hit, as it's now described as having, quote, almost incalculable importance to Warner Brothers' Discovery. The report explains that there's a genuine fear Warner Brothers could go the way of 20th Century Fox, a studio scooped up by Disney, when it was no longer sustainable for it to exist on its own. According to one studio veteran, quote, an essential element of the stock price is believing that the IP of DC is meaningful. David Zaslav bet big that they can show the world that the DC IP can have real value. Superman is the first movie that will set the tone. They have a tremendous amount riding on it. So basically, the bottom line here is saying that if it doesn't do well, Warner Brothers might be up for sale, which, could be the case. And then just the fact that, you could have Peter Safran leaving DC and just be James Gunn, which could be, I think that'd be a disaster. But there you go. That's the news. But I actually do believe this. So what do you think, Culture?
I think Peter Safran's an interesting choice for running the overall Warner Brothers. I think that's somebody who's kind of got a feel for what's going on. I thought that Mr. DeLuca and Miss Abdi were an excellent choice at the time, but they've proven me wrong. They took a wild risk and a huge budget expense in Joker Folie à Deux. Others of their selections have been hit and miss. The only reason they had any kind of success with Dune and Godzilla was because of the deal they have with Legendary. So they can't really even take credit for that. Their big wins just haven't been there. The last big win anybody could have would have been Barbie, and that was a decision made before I think Abdi and DeLuca even showed up. So you're looking at a schedule or a slate that was developed under different circumstances. Now the studio is not flush with cash. They don't have AT&T's money. Malone is probably looking for a way to unspin some of the things he spun into the reverse Morris Trust when AT&T shed Warner Brothers into Discovery in the first place. So they've already exceeded the 2-year minimum that they had before they could do any other further swaps, mergers, whatnot. So that expired actually last April. So we're now looking at a time when this is a studio that's fully in flux. Warner Brothers, the studio could be shed rather easily without shedding any of the other assets. It could be sold off to who knows who, but definitely not Disney. That would never happen again. But somebody could pick them up, just like, well, Skydance is picking up CBS / Paramount. So I look at this and I'm like, okay, I can see all these shifts and all these moves taking place and working. If James Gunn doesn't get Superman right, none of it works anymore. This is
Yeah.
existential. I think this is even understating it, right? And I think Matt was probably also understating it, so he didn't get as much blowback as he did about the Kathleen Kennedy thing, which was dumb because he had the story cold. He had it by the nuts. So I still don't understand why he went with that. But I'm just looking at this as like if Superman does not deliver, DC's dead. Supergirl might be the last movie, and they may
Oh, yeah, 'cause
occasionally
they're
make a
filming that,
Batman.
aren't they? Yeah.
That they may occasionally make a Batman, and that one's not. That's going to be Reeves, right? That's going to be Reeves Batman. So, I'm looking at this and I'm like, if this doesn't work, Gunn's screwed, and if this doesn't work, Warner Brothers screwed. And
Mm.
and again, if you're Zaslav, you're like going, this is a movie studio that can't make movies anymore. What is happening right now? So it's and they don't have a big slate. If you take a look at the end of the year, Minecraft, that's going to suck testicles. There's
I
nothing
think that
good.
movie might be big, though, to be fair. I do think Minecraft will be
Dude,
big.
you okay, point out the 10 to 12-year-old kid that's actually, going to want to see that movie. It's not visually representative representative of the game. It doesn't allow for, what the game does as far as personalization. It doesn't offer a challenge. It's going to give you Momoa and Jack Black, and Jack Black is wearing thin on the audiences these days. So
I mean,
video game movies tend to not do very well.
that's also true.
the most recent trailer, 3 months old, does have 22 million views.
Yeah, well, how many thumbs up, thumbs down?
437,000 thumbs ups, only 59,000 thumbs downs.
Well, it's doing better than I expected, but
I do think it'll do well.
I'm okay. What's doing well?
I don't know. I think it'll make
Okay.
money, but I don't know how much it costs, to be fair. So
That's true. Okay.
And
I just
I
have
can
low
imagine it's probably going to
expectations.
be a really expensive movie because it's entirely bloody CGI, isn't it? So
Yeah. Well, I mean, how well did Pixels do?
yeah, but that's I don't know.
I mean,
don't think that's the same appeal as the Minecraft
Assassin's
movie.
Creed. That was amazingly popular. How about Warcraft? How about? I mean, I could just go through a list. Like outside of
Yeah, I'm
Valorant,
not saying it's going to be a good movie, Culture. I'm
right?
not saying it's going to be a good movie. I'm just saying I think there's clearly quite an interest there. I think it'll do reasonably well.
All right.
If you want to compare it to other video game adaptations, Mario did really well.
That's what I said. Mario.
Right?
Mario and Sonic. Those are the two.
Yeah. Well, Sonic
the
does okay. They do good enough.
And the budget for Minecraft, reported budget is right around 150 million. So it probably will make money for sure.
That's definitely going to make money.
Yeah.
How they make it for 150 million? Jesus.
Yeah.
That's cheap.
Everything
That's
was shot.
really cheap.
Everything was shot in the volume, dude. How many days on set you think that was? 20? 22?
Yeah, it wouldn't be much, would it?
Yeah.
It's not exactly like their intricate acting takes either, is it? They're just like, do this. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, Momoa, give us your goofiest face and your dude bro like statement, and we're good. Thanks. Next take.
You're not dealing with a thespian, are you?
No, and you're not dealing with a thespian with Jack Black either. So it's not like there's like a whole lot of stretching for these people. At least not in the brains, anyway.
Is it just me, or does Momoa seem to have moved into the Arnold Schwarzenegger twins movie career situation?
Yeah, he's being humiliated at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like he's somewhere between The Rock and Cena right now.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And at least he hasn't had to use his penis as a towel bar like John Cena did in Trainwreck. Yeah, because he had that terrible sex scene with Amy. What's her name? Schumer.
And that they
yeah,
actually apparently
they actually,
had
they,
set
yeah,
back
they
about
actually,
that scene.
yeah. By the way, can't do that on YouTube. Make the can't do the gesture.
Oh, anyway, yes, I can believe that Warner Brothers' future does actually hinge on Superman.
Yes.
And on that note, Donovan Bradford says, if you guys could fix Warner Brothers, how would you?
Oh,
How would I fix Warner Brothers? So it it's all about the budgets. The budgets of any movie has gotten completely out of control. All budgets are insane now.
They're
They
dumb.
all are.
They're
They're just
dumb.
mental.
mm,
And the industry at large needs to get used to being paid less, right? Like all these big stars, they need to get paid less. No star needs 26, 56, 70 odd $1 million as a payday. It's just fucking nonsense. Like it just absolutely is. So if I was in charge of Warner Brothers, I'd sit down all my actors and say, look, you are going to get paid less for this movie, but you'll get back end deals instead, right? So you'll get a percentage gross of the profit. So we can all share in the profit rather than you get your upfront fee. I know upfront fees are good, but we're changing it, right? We are Warner Brothers. We are one of the biggest studios. We're going to set a precedent. Yeah, sure, you can all bugger off to Disney, but when Disney lose all the money in the world because you're bleeding them dry, you will eventually come back, and these will be our terms. They'll be the same. So accept them now, or don't accept them later, I guess. But they're not going to change. That is genuinely what I would say, because they would have nowhere to go. All the talent would, yes, they would go to other studios. But how many movies are these other studios going to do? Not that many. Not that many. And when they eventually start bleeding them dry, they're going to stop and they're going to have to come back to Warner Brothers. So I would make a precedent. So I get the budgets under control that way. And I would actually start greenlighting things that are like I would remove things going to HBO and Max and things like that, right? I would sell everything to other streamers like Netflix, Amazon Prime, other streaming platforms that you can buy stuff. I would then, I would also implement Blu-ray physical copies of everything being for sale, but with dedicated teams of special stuff being put on them, because no one does that anymore. Just a way to maximize revenues.
yeah.
And I would take risks, small risks. They're calculated risks. But Warner Brothers doesn't release a lot of movies anymore. Mickey 17 is not a good calculated risk, right? Like that was a dumb high budget for a movie that they didn't really market properly. That's stupid. Sinners is another movie that looks pretty good, but they're not marketing it properly, right? These movies, if they cost $30 million, would have been like a pretty surefire bet, mitigating risks, but they're spending too much money on them. So that's how I would say Warner Brothers. That's how I'd fix it.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
I like what Nate was saying. The only thing I would add is on the Blu-ray stuff, I would make it like not only have a lot of extra features, deleted scenes, behind the scenes type stuff on there, but I would make it like collector's edition. Like, have like a little statue that comes with something, some sort of collector's edition, because people that buy physical media like that kind of stuff. Just having just a movie on physical media, I mean, it's just a movie. I mean, if I just want to watch, I can just go online and watch it. But if you have something else that's physically comes with it as a collector's item or something, and you don't over mass produce them to where it's like, there's like just millions of them and you just freely get them, like sort of similar to like HasLab stuff, where
Yeah,
you have a
yeah.
limited amount of supply of it, and you can actually charge a higher rate, higher price for that stuff as well, and actually make more money on it.
Nice. What about you, Culture? How would you fix Warner Brothers?
I could fix it. It would be. It wouldn't take long. I could fix it. Give it to me.
Day one,
No.
it's gonna be huge.
It'll be
Wanna fix it?
huge. I could fix it. I could fix Warner Bros. Wouldn't take long, seriously. First of all, I would look at I would call for a pause in the day, look at every single film that was in production. I would look at every single I would walk through every single daily. I would walk through all of the treatments that I could get my hands on that day, and just say, okay, wherever you are in this project, you need to make these changes or you cannot make it. And then that because you literally it comes down to a lot of very poor decision making with many of these films, and oftentimes it's just a poor direction. Not a poor director, but the film was going in the wrong direction. Like the script had a base idea that was good, but it's just not going well. So a few rewrites, some changes in scene positions, sometimes reshuffling the order of a film will help as well. But overall, I don't think it would take very much effort for somebody that was fully engaged just with the movies, not running a giant corporation, which I think is Zaslav's problem, because he's too big picture. He cannot get down into the weeds, into the nuance. But I think they need somebody like that. I think, to be fair, um, Safran would probably be the right guy if they allow him to do that. But if not, bring me in. I'll do it. I'll do it for less money. And a year from then, you're going to be begging to pay me more money to stick around, because it'd be really easy for me to walk up to Gunn and say, you can't do this ever again. You cannot have multiple characters in a Superman movie, because then it's not a Superman movie. You need to talk about and focus on Superman. And I don't care what some of the test screening information coming out is. There are too many characters. There are too many cameos. You're trying to jumpstart this thing way too fast, and it's going to cost you down the road. We were going to end up with an undeveloped Superman, which is the same thing that happened to Cavill. Cavill did not get time to develop as Superman in the films. This is the same thing, just in a different way. And, again, if the script is good and there's not a lot of gun comedy in it, maybe it'll be all right. But I'm going to go into this movie very hesitantly, because I do not expect it to be great. But again, and the last thing I would do if I were in charge of just the films, right? This is just films. Would be kowtowing to the Oscars or any Hollywood directives when it comes to casting. You cast the right person for the part. If you are insistent on making somebody else's material and these characters have established looks and feels, that's what you put into them. And you do not change it. Not for anyone, not for anything. And if you can't stick by doing that, you shouldn't be making or adapting anything. Because you clearly don't have the temerity, the testicular fortitude to be a studio head. And you actually need it. We just don't have it. Everybody's too wishy-washy, which is another problem with having two people do the job that one person should do. DeLuca and Abdi are probably approaching things from two different directions, and that's where you get muddled in the middle. Film by committee. Stop doing that.
Anyway. All right. There you go, Donovan. That's how we would each individually.
That was the most worthwhile $2 super chat ever.
It was. So anyway, moving on.